you're joking, Danny. I'm like, no, it's serious.
No. But you couldn't stand up at all?
No, never. Unable to.
I mean, after the interview, you could stand up.
I can stand after the interview. Yeah, be like, fuck off.
And when you go out, like today, do you have to cap and glasses
No,
or?
no. People don't care. It's pretty
Really?
sweet. I didn't, at least so far.
No one came up and.
No.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, it's very sweet. I've been to Sydney many times, and only once in a while. Hello, Robin. You know, they'd be like, good day. Can we? You know, sure.
Just once, wow.
Yeah, it was just one guy today, and another guy was very sweet. He took a picture of Susan and I, and that was it. I mean, he offered. It wasn't like, take a photo. He just said, may I take your picture? Sure. People are very nice. I mean, most of the time, they're doing other things, so it's like, I don't walk down by the K, because that's hardcore tourists. So
Yes, yeah.
That's asking for it.
Does the city remind you of San Francisco?
Oh, big time. But it's so gay.
Pardon?
It's so much gayer than San Francisco. I mean, I lived in Boys Town in San Francisco, and I came here once for Mardi Gras, and I went, fuck off.
Yeah.
You make San Francisco look Amish.
That's right.
It was just, I saw more, it was the drag queens were so big. He's like, hello, Robin. Fuck. What's your name? Rachel Tensions. It's like, God. I mean, it was insane. I was just going, we're out, but this is way out. Fucking. But it's weird. I asked about Australia, and there is no gay marriage in Australia, right?
No.
You can adopt. Gay couples can adopt, but they can't get married. But it doesn't seem to, I mean, this doesn't seem to bother anybody. It's not like someday, God willing, I guess that's the way. In America, it's just this.
It's like abortion's not really a big issue here either.
Oh, but is it legal? Or is
Yeah.
It,
Oh, certain. I don't think all the states though.
I think, yeah,
I think
it's
you
not
got
a sort of religious moral issue at least. It's
yeah,
more
you just
medical
keep it to
sort of
being
thing.
just
Yeah.
kind of quietly, like, your call.
But you can only get fireworks and porn in Canberra.
That's great. That's like Oklahoma. What are you doing?
It's just strangely where all the politicians are. You know, that's how they
Canberra
entertain
and fireworks.
themselves.
I can blow shit up and get my wad off. Good luck. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Just put a cherry bomb up my ass. How are you How are you doing? What's that? No. Canberra. That's fucking amazing.
How does it feel like last night getting up in front of 10,000 of your closest friends? Do you still get sort of nervous?
Oh God, yeah. I get narcoleptic before I go on stage. I get kind of. Are we shooting? It's okay. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, we're going.
This is lovely.
Yeah.
Quiet people. Thank you. I get this weird thing before going on stage. I get kind of narcoleptic, kind of like, I think it's just everything kind of going, everybody! And then just before I go on, it kind of, everything comes back online. But, oh no, it's that weird thing. It's that strange kind of, okay, you got to do this. Even though I've done now like 7 shows, it's still like, okay, one more.
Do you have fear that you'll bomb
No, that you'll
or
just
die in the past?
Oh yeah, well that's the metaphor.
Yeah.
You either kill or die. There's not, you healed them. No, it's like those are the ones. One night, and I think it was in Brisbane, I was on, and all of a sudden I blanked. I was like, where am I? I was like a weird brain fart, and I had to kind of go, where are we? And they're looking through the notes like, we don't know either. But it was that weird thing of, where do we go? But people are very sweet, and so far it's been pretty crazy fun because it's just like. I mean, I adapted enough to kind of say, this is all I know about Australia, good luck. And then after that, I tried a few other references, they went, don't go there. I remember saying, Sarah Palin is like a well-armed Pauline Hanson, and they went, nice try. Or Pauline Hanson with a great ass, better, go with that. Thank you.
How do you know you've nailed it though? How do you, is there, do you try and
You hear
nail it really
laughter.
early?
Yeah,
but do you try and hit it really early and get that?
You try and just come on strong enough just to, sometimes you can come on too strong and kind of speed through stuff, and sometimes that's the main thing of it, is to relax, take it easy, and take your time. You try and just hit hard first, and then once you're in, kind of relax. It's usually that weird thing about, okay, great, and then take it easy, we have an hour and a half to go. And it helps to kind of, and then see that some things work and other things like mentally go, no, lose that. And then I was doing a thing initially about, there was an American baseball pitcher who pitched a no-hitter on LSD.
Is that a true story?
Totally.
That's
Doc
amazing.
Ellis. Yeah, he took it by accident in the afternoon, thinking that, not by accident, you don't take it by accident. Is this vitamin C? No, man. He took it and thinking he wasn't going to pitch that day, and he had to go pitch. But here's the deal: he pitched a no-hitter on LSD.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I talk about that, and I could see the entire audience going, "Very good, but what is it? What does that mean?" Not the
Just
LSD.
change it. Make it about cricket.
Oh my God! Like over 3 days.
And change it to Shane Warne.
Warren Chamberlain.
Yeah,
Shane
yeah.
Warne.
Oh, that was,
People would believe that.
oh,
perhaps.
that he probably did. Is there such a thing as a perfect game in cricket? Can you pitch a perfect game? I mean, there is no such thing as no one
No.
gets a hit. So
No,
it's
that's
not.
right. Yeah.
Everyone,
just goes for
everyone
5
gets
days.
something. Take anything off the top shelf.
If you're still alive at the end of the 5 days, you've done well.
That's what I said. Does this take a couple of hours? No, fucking days, mate.
That's another acid.
Yeah. It's,
You did your line about Australians being English rednecks back in February when
Oh,
you did
yeah, I
that little
got it.
show in the King's Cross. Audience laughed their heads off.
Big time.
And then you find out that Kevin Rudd has taken offence. Were you like, kind of, man, get a sense of humour?
well, it was weird because as soon as he said that the governor, he said perhaps Mr. Williams should spend some time in Alabama before he calls someone a redneck. Cut to the governor of Alabama saying, perhaps Mr. Rudd should come down to Alabama and realize we're decent, hard-working people. And all of a sudden there's a linguistic war. And then I found out later on that Kevin Rudd said some pretty amazing things about the Chinese and went, welcome. The rat eaters, oh, welcome. Yeah, come here, come to Beijing.
Yeah.
We fed you now. But, you know, I was weird because I was just talking linguistically and I went, maybe better to say good old boys. But when I heard it, I went, I've offended a prime minister.
Yeah. Little part of you go, yes, yes, ticket sales are up by 20% for sure.
God, now!
Box ticked.
Yeah. Too late now, too late now.
With the instant high that you get from when 10,000 people are laughing their heads off, what's your brain doing? What are your neurotransmitters doing? Is it the last legal high available?
Yeah, I think so for me, after rehab. Yeah, I think it's that idea that there is this kind of, when it works, it's great. And when it doesn't, it's painful. It's the same thing. When it's not working, there's that weird thing of, and you start to, sphincter, everybody out. But when it's working, it's that weird thing about you surfing and kind of like you're in that thing, athletes describe it as the same thing of being, it's working. Yeah, working. And then you start to, and then the great thing is if you can find new stuff, then that's like, inshallah, the great gift.
Because, so I was about to say, it must be a really fine line to dance between you've got all this great material, you know it works, but then to go, I might just leave that because this is working better.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll try something and it'll be like, no, come back, it doesn't work. But sometimes you got to try that. You have to try and, to see if you can expand on it and really that's the ballsy move is to say, okay, let's see if you can find something new there. Occasionally when I'm on the road doing, big places, it's a little difficult to go, let's try it now, in front of 8,000 people going, now is not the time. But in small clubs, yeah, that's the only place to go, especially late at night. That's the place where you really find weird, kind of wonderful things. That's the area.
Are you always writing down jokes and?
No, I write like ideas. Like, I was talking to Mort Sahl and he talked about America's like a country going into rehab. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if they have a rehab for nations called empires, run by an old Englishman going, hello. Welcome. Once you realize you're powerless over other countries, that's the first step. Come on in. Don't talk to the French. They still think they've got it. And I tried that one, and sometimes it works, and other times people are going, no.
We all need rehab as well. Like, if you're right about a decade spent under the influence of fuck it all, what do we do now?
Well, that's weird. It's kind of we're coming out of it. It's that, but the definition of insanity is repeating the same action, expecting a different outcome. Not just with Bush and and repeating wars, repeating economic solutions, bailing out the banks again, and they came back going, no, my man, I just need some liquidity. You're the same guys. Yeah, but this time it was real estate. It was last time. Yeah, I know. How weird is that? We just had some complex formulas, really complex formulas. Yeah, definitely complex, really complex. We just didn't factor in greed and panic. Definitely didn't factor in greed and panic. Didn't work, not working. And that's how you feel like as America. It's like with Obama, there's that weird thing of, the stuff that goes on, and he just holds the line. I mean, one joke that is, he's in India. Why? To outsource the presidency. Hello, I am your president for today. Mr. Obama could not be here, but we are trying to deal domestically. And they're basically giving him shit because he was, visiting countries, and they were saying the expense of visiting countries. And the one female politician from Minnesota, I forget her name, was saying he should do a teleconferencing. Yeah, that would play well. Yeah, that shows you we care very much about you.
Sorry, Skype's gone down.
Yeah, okay, fine. Do you love you? Come on.
You get Obama in the office though, and does your ability to make mock of the president decrease? Because Bush and Cheney, etc.
There were gifts. Bush was a self-opening pinata. Yeah. Every week was a gift. He was like, he took the English language and put it in a Cuisinart, and things came out. With Obama, you do, and it's also how far can you go? He still says the gift is Biden. You know, Joe Biden's Secret Service code name is Joe Biden. So, and then that's that weird thing of, I think, as I said last night, that he's impeachment insurance. You know, we're going to impeach Obama. Biden will be president. Fine, okay. But Joe says stuff that even people with Tourette's go, wow.
Are you looking in 2012, do you reckon you're going to have a whole bunch of new material with, you know, Tea Party crackpots taking power?
The Tea Party is pretty insane. I mean, they really do kind of go out there, and they've got, it's right now. This next session of Congress is going to be like the Carnival of Clowns. I think but then there'll always be the old school that'll be hanging out. But I don't know. We'll see. It seems like the economy's picking up. It'll be interesting to see it. And they'll, even the Tea Party people complaining about health care. I want the government out of my Medicare. Too late, coach. It's actually, that is a government program. They're based on fear. It's kind of fear and loathing. It's a bizarre combination, but you see it and you just, the only antidote to it is like, is Jon Stewart and Colbert. Because, if not, it's just you're bombarded by stuff that just seems to be, rumor. And the only way to talk about it is to, just, see about any way of going, do you remember rationally what happened? And these are the things that go on.
It makes for great comedy, and that's, I suppose, a safety valve and outlet for you. But you also take action. I was astounded to read the number of charities you're involved in.
You got no choice right now. Most of them are strapped because of, as these programs get cut back, they're in there, broke. And you try and do everything you can, including auctioning off items, clothing, dinners. And because it's still, they need help. I mean, especially in terms of healthcare or aid to the homeless. It's that weird thing about, and there's that weird kind of charity burnout that people kind of go after, after the big rush on, with Haiti, it was like afterwards, but then there's still other things. Yeah, and as people are strapped, it makes it harder. But you got to still keep working because that's the nature of the animal.
So charities now are God's way of telling you you've got too much money.
Yeah, yeah. Versus the old day. Where was your charity money going? I don't know. It's gone. It was a Columbian College fund. How are you doing it? Listen.
I had to jump around a little bit. When did you first realize you were funny?
I didn't realize till actually high school. I mean, I was in a senior class. It wasn't a play. It was like a parody of all the stuff that was going on at this school. And I did an impression of a teacher who was pretty wonderful and pretty out there. His name was Mr. Lavezza, who was actually, he taught history and government. And occasionally we found out later on that he was teaching class on acid. So it'd be like, group hug. What's this? The Civil War. But, I did a great impression of him, and then I got laughs, and it was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I went to Claremont Men's College to study political science and economics, but it was a men's college, and the only place the women were was in theater classes, and I went, I'm going there. And then I started taking improv theater classes, and two things happened. One, women. Second thing is I started to be able to do comedy based on suggestions, which was this idea of, wait a minute, you're creating it. And that was addicting. That was the beginning of kind of performing comedy. And economics went out the window. I failed so miserably. And that's when my father said, I'm not paying for that, come home. So I ended up going to a local junior college and studying theater and kind of beginning that process, which was actually, that was the beginning of, studying acting and, taking that path. My dad had a great line, and I said this on the Academy Awards. He said, Dad, I want to be an actor. He said, great. I just want you to have a backup profession like welding. Cool, Dad, cool.
I'd heard you in an interview say that also comedy was a great way to get the attention you wanted, particularly from like your parents or whatever, to get their attention and impress your mum and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, so the only way to get breastfed as a kid. Yeah. Is this thing on? My mother was very much, she was the funny one. My father was very dry, but my mother really was kind of, the comedy maven. She was very entertaining. She would do weird things like, she would cut a rubber band, open it up so it would just dangle like this, and then stuff it in her nose and be at a dinner party going, oh dear. My dad would go, great, Laurie, that's really funny. But that was kind of who she was. So that gave me the idea of, oh, that works.
Yeah.
That was our connection.
Do you have a measuring stick or somebody now that you trust who tells you whether you are still funny or not as opposed to everyone else? Yeah,
my children, my girlfriend, my, other comics friends who are like, very, they'll go, no. But it's good that you need that, because if not, you're kind of, I don't have an entourage, a hardcore, like a big, whole group. A couple of friends, and they're always there to bust me whenever I'm feeling really good. Even after I won the Academy Award, a comedian friend called up and I went, hello, what about Popeye? Click. You know, that's always the case. You know, that helps. That just keeps you sane because comedians are always like naturally sandblasting each other all the time. It's crazy.
You've made some cracks about your movies in the stand-up
big time.
show. What are the movies that you're most proud of, and what are the ones you wish more people had seen?
Well, Dead Poets, I think, was the first time I ever did a movie that affected people beyond being a movie. I once met a guy who said, you know, I gave up my job at Sears. I burned my suit and became a teacher because of you. I went, I hope everything's okay.
Are you any good?
Yeah, are you any good? No, the kids leave class. But it was that weird thing about, you know, a movie that kind of affected people beyond that. I mean, Awakenings in a similar way. Fisher King, you know, was a wonderful, strange experience. I mean, doing Good Will Hunting for me was, I mean, just a chance to work with those guys, but also to work with Gus Van Sant. Of movies that I've done, there's a strange movie I did that actually was very good, but then they kind of chopped it up and put a voiceover. It's this movie called Being Human, which is a really bizarre movie. Wonderful movie with weird segues, transitioning through six different historical periods. They showed it to an audience and they went, "We don't get this." And so they put a voiceover and went, "No." A woman once met the director outside. He had a test screening, and his name is Bill Forsyth, a very sweet Scottish director. And he was saying, and the woman came and said, "Did you direct this movie?" He went, "Oh yes, I did, very much. It's very proud of it." She said, "Really? They should bury this in the deepest hole they can find." It was just like at that point, he went, "Oh dear, thanks for sharing." Yeah.
That's going on the poster for
Yeah,
sure.
bury this in the deepest hole. Other movies? I mean, the last movie I did that I'm really proud of is World's Greatest Dad.
We
Yeah, we were talking
loved
about
it.
Yeah, a
reviewed it on
great,
the
strange
show.
movie with Bobcat, who's a wonderful friend. I mean, he's, of my friends, I only have a few, and he's one of them, Eric Idle, Billy Connolly, and they're all comics. And it's pretty wonderful to have those as friends. And to work with him, I felt the safest I've ever felt in any movie, because all of a sudden I could work and be around someone who I know is funny, but also has he was a good filmmaker and a great screenwriter, and I just felt safe to do.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was such a surprise because you think of, you know, from a cliched point of view, the title of that film.
Oh yeah.
You're in it, and then you see it, and it's like, what?
No, it's designed to be that way. It's designed to take and just go, you know. Same thing with 1 Hour Photo. I mean, I've never had people more creeped out by a movie than 1 Hour Photo. I once had a little homeboy come up to me going, "Yo, man, that movie creeped my ass out, especially when you took a dump in those people's home." That was crazy, you know. That was the moment when I realized, you know, but that's the idea for me, is to do strange parts, and that always keeps, you know, people's perceptions changing.
We're talking last night about the choices you've been making, particularly recently, and what's driving those, and you know, what are the boxes that you're ticking that enables you to do something like World's Greatest Dad?
I mean, with that, it was just going. I knew that I read it and went, I really want to do this. And he sent it to me just to see if I wanted to play a small part to help get it made. I went, no, I want to play him. It'd be great. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just if it has something that kind of affects me or drives me. You know, there's some movies you do for money, and those are the dangerous ones. Old dogs, we'll talk later. But the idea that you do those and you go, and you know why you're making them. It's a kid's comedy, you know it's going to be silly, and you know that's going to be up for grabs. But with something like World's Greatest Dad, it's like, no, you do it as a labor of love, and you do it with friends who you feel like you can do it with and say, hey, we're both in this together, and that's kind of wonderful. That's like that's the best part. It goes back to Dead Poets, it goes back to Fisher King, World's Greatest Dad, 1 Hour Photo. They're all done with this kind of love, you know. You commit to it and you go, whatever happens, I'm in. I'm proud of it. You know, that's the drill.
Have you ever wanted to write and direct your own
Never.
film?
I couldn't.
Why is that?
Because I wouldn't know what to say no to. I wouldn't, because it'd be 20 hours long, and it would be, right? What are you doing, Joaquin? But it's the idea of I just would be because of me improvising. I'd say, let's just keep shooting. You know, I couldn't do it. And I have friends who do it. I respect them because they can pick and choose. And it is like triage. You have to go, that worked, that didn't work. Let's try it, you know. It's hard.
What about your Broadway debut next year?
It'll be interesting because I was off Broadway. I did Waiting for Godot with Steve Martin. And it was pretty wonderful. We were doing the play. And the matinees are mainly full of old Jewish women. And all of a sudden, well, it was one of the first matinees we did. The lights come up, and I'm on a rock trying to get a shoe on, and an old lady goes, "That's not Steve Martin." And it was just like, we're off and running. But it's weird too because it's a play. You have to do the play, stay within the boundaries of the play. There's no room to improvise with it.
And you're playing a tiger, am I right?
Yes, a Bengal tiger in the Baghdad Zoo.
So
And
it's the logical extension of your cat who's
yes,
been on stage a lot of times.
Yes, it's the logical extension. Already I'm hairy enough. If people say gorilla, no, tiger. Well, not bad, not a bad stretch.
So how do you prepare to be a tiger
Yeah.
in a very serious role?
In a very serious role, but most of the time he's dead, so he's a ghost most of the time. So it's that idea of how do you prepare to be a tiger that no longer is a tiger. And the idea of once you're a tiger. I mean, the idea, if you go look at them in the zoo, most of the time they're just like, what? Just kind of laid back. But then this one gets provoked and eventually gets shot by a Marine. So then the rest of the play, he's just wandering around going, and he keeps gaining in consciousness. It's a bit like Waiting for Godot in the same way of just this weird analogy. And it talks about Iraq and the ghosts that wander around in Iraq, Marines, Uday Hussein, this one guy, and all these different things of these, of this war that took place. Based on a true story of that the Baghdad Zoo blew up, was, bombed, and then all the animals got out, and a lot of them died in the streets of Baghdad. Lions were wandering around like, what is this? I want to go back. The monkeys are going, over here. Come here. Very quick, but.
One of the other things that seems to be one of the most common perception, it's actually on the Internet Movie Database, stated as fact, is quote, he's typically clean-shaven in his comic roles and
Right.
bearded in his serious ones. So do you invest your facial hair with that much significance? And are you
Not
trying
at
to fuck
all.
with us
No,
now?
I've
What's
done
doing a
both.
stand-up with the beard?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've changed the formula now. You're
The
confusing
formula's like, he's
everything.
doing stand-up with the beard, fuck off. I just grew the hair because I could. I was going to do Freud the musical. It's not one thing, it's your mother. He's a crazy id, talking about an id, No, I just grew it because all of a sudden I had time off. And when I grow a full beard, it's kind of sad. It's just gray with a little bit of black. It's kind of like a biker beard. And I'm going to shave it off eventually because I start to look like a Civil War reenactor. Hello, boys. Put the guns in the Volvo. We're going to another city. But I just grew it for fun. And most of the time, will I keep it for the tiger? Maybe. I don't know. It might work. I mean, it just gives you, I'm a chia pet. I grow hair within 5 seconds. The moment I once had to be waxed for a movie. They had 2 girls waxing me. And at one point they said, do you mind if we take a break? It was like crop circles on my ass. It was crazy.
I was going to. Why are comedians such complex people?
I think it's just that weird thing of what drives you to do it. It's that weird thing of why would you get out on stage and talk about things. And my favorite comedians that I've ever seen were always the most honest, like Pryor. Pryor would be talking about dying and making it funny. The recent kind of embodiment of that is Chris Rock does it. Louis C.K. does it. Talks about really painful things, but he's just talking about his life. And the idea of going on stage and going, I'm going to talk about really painful things, but let's see if you relate to it. And they're complex because I think it's a survival mechanism. Sometimes they did it because it's one way to get laid. Sometimes they did it because it's an outlet. It's cheaper than therapy. And in a weird way, they said it's these things that are spinning inside them that they have to talk about. And it depends on which way you do it. That what drives you.
Because they're very private people, normally comedians, but on stage.
Yeah, but you can do things on stage that if you did in public, you'd be arrested. It's that weird thing. It's almost like legalized Tourette's. You can do things and say things that people, and especially people heckle. It is that. Have you ever seen the famous YouTube picture of the guy? He's a comedian. He's playing guitar, and this guy heckles him in the front row, and he finally just goes whang, and all of a sudden you can hear the audience go no, and then all of a sudden he went, he deserved it, and from the back of the room this old woman went, no, he didn't. It's that weird thing, It is a strange group, but it's a weird kind of confederacy, That there's this weird competition, but a weird kind of union. That's the combo of it all.
You recently attended a show, one of your heroes, Mort Sahl.
Oh,
a couple
big
weeks
time.
ago. And now he's 83. Your other big hero, Jonathan Winters, is 85 today.
Yeah, 85, and he just had heart surgery.
Yeah.
And he called me. I said, how are you, John? He said, the Japanese did the surgery. I saved money, but I think they're getting back at me for World War II. But it was amazing to see Mort. He did a show. I went to see him at the Napa Opera House, and they didn't even have him in the theater. It was kind of like an afternoon lecture series. It was 40 people, but he was amazing.
I read about it. I read the
It was
lines. They were
incredible.
great,
It was insanely brilliant, and he was just so on, just hitting it hard. And it's been great to hang out with him because he's one of those guys who's been fearless throughout his whole career. Took a lot of flack for it. Took a lot of flack for basically saying, it was more than one person killed Kennedy. Yeah, right, get out. and you know, and stood for things. And people said at one point he wrote for Reagan, and then he lost a lot of liberals going, well, now he's turned. He went, no, he believed in him. It's what he is, you know. And yeah, it's incredible to be with him because he's just got stories that go on for days. You know. He's an amazing intellect, and that's why, I mean, I'm God willing to have the same thing going, to keep doing what he's doing.
That was my question. Can you see
Yeah.
yourself doing it as an octogenarian?
What is it? Hopefully, yeah. I mean, it's that weird thing I talk about on stage. Can they make a drug to create, you know, to give you will your intellect increase as you grow older? I'm very sorry. Can you at least maintain your intellect? No, I'm sorry. But we can make you harder than Chinese algebra. Great, thanks. But the idea of, you know, doing it is, he's an inspiration on that level. Jonathan too. Jonathan still performs. Not as much as Mort does, but it's like, it's that same thing about these guys who, you know, keep hitting it and are just as amazing. Yeah, I would think Mort's an example.
These guys, you know, heavily influenced you. Do you get comedians who you respect coming up to you and saying, I'm in this business because of you?
Once in a while, a few people, but you know, not like with Jonathan or whatever. But you know, no, I think I've met a few people, but it was mainly young guys who kind of have like a very free-flowing act. But you know, and when they do, it's like, thank you, young man. You're like, dear boy. Become like Peter O'Toole. What a lovely thing to say. My favorite line about Peter O'Toole and drinking, he said, if you're ever thinking about not drinking, call me. Alcoholics Unanimous. But it was, yeah, it's kind of sweet when that happens.
There's a line which says that, you know, good artists borrow, but great artists steal. Have you stolen from any great artists?
I don't know, in the old days it was that whole thing, I just hung out in comedy clubs too much, and I would hear things and then I'd be improvising and shit would come out, then I'd have to go. But I don't do that anymore. I can't, I have to just kind of go. I would think, well, I would quote people now. The idea is if you quote it on stage, is that feeling. My favorite line about Australia is Eric Idle's, where he said, he landed in Australia and they said, Mr. Idle, you have a criminal record. And he said, I didn't know one was still required. But, you know, it's that idea of, you know, I don't know, influenced by, yeah, I could say, like, just like when you read about Pryor. Initially, Pryor was doing Cosby almost word for word. And probably in the beginning I was doing like Jonathan, not routines of his, but influenced by. So I could say I was more like, because I don't have an act per se, but more kind of a cesspool of consciousness. So that's a weird thing. It's that old thing of like, okay, how the fuck do you do this? Okay, just, you know, ideas. But like with Mort, he's got lines per se that are just like boom, 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 you know. He has a great line about Biden. He says that if anything ever happens to Obama, the Secret Service isn't under orders to shoot him, just to protect the presidency.
I liked his line at that show that you went to, which I read about, you know, if you you should be doubting evolution because, you know, 200 years ago there were 4 million Americans, they produced Jefferson, Washington, and all the rest of
big time.
And there's 300 million Americans producing it. Sarah
Yeah,
Palin.
that basically it's going, it's down, it's, yeah, that's Sarah Palin.
Clever
Going,
stuff.
wow. She's like a weird combination of genetically cloned Ronald Reagan and Paris Hilton. It's like you mix that two together. She says things that make W look like a Rhodes Scholar. And people love her in a way that anything she says is gold. I'm going, wow, it's like alchemy. Strange stuff. But I don't know. I mean, it's interesting times.
Does it make you angry when you watch the news and you see things like Sarah Palin, Tea Party, you know?
You're angry, but at the same time you go, but you're weird. I mean, they won some seats, but the good news is they didn't win a lot of the ones they thought they'd win. You still hope for the triumph of rational, you know, the triumph of reason. Good luck. Yeah, it is that weird thing. It's that whole thing about angry. I mean, I get angry because of just that there's news and then there's Fox News. You know, that it seems like we repeat, you deny. I mean, they have this weird thing. If they say things, they're going, that's not even confirmed. And they'll put it out there, that's definite. Going, where? And it used to be, in the old days, people would watch the news like Cronkite. And they would watch it and go like, this is important, because they had faith in him. The last great newsman was Dan Rather, and they disenfranchised him with the information about Bush's war, you know, the war record. It's a DVD, actually. But the fact that did he serve in the National Guard, and then they said he got false information. And as a true journalist with ethics, he said, all right, then I'm withdrawing. Last guy, gone. So no, I don't know there's anybody you listen to except pundits, you know, which are just, you know, these guys spinning opinions. and that scares me.
And Fox seems to be driving everybody else further to the right and to the dumbing down and the
Oh,
17 screens and ticket tapes, and it's like,
Yeah,
sitting
and
with a
the
video
screens are
game
printing things going, we don't know if this is actually true, but keep watching, maybe. Rabbits actually growing large balls. Very strange stuff. And it's that whole thing about, and like you said, 17 screens, short attention span politics. That's scary.
Are we getting dumber, do you think, because of things
Boom.
like Facebook and Twitter and all that multimedia content?
Imagine, was there Twitter in the Bible? Did Jesus tweet after the crucifixion, going to see Dad, back in 3 days? I don't know. That weird thing of Twitter, the social networking thing, that works positively, like if you think in countries where they have no access to the news, that you can tweet and, try and form political parties. But then in Iran, that they used that against them, and they started putting out false tweets. It's like all that stuff could be manipulated in any given day. But the social networking idea, I'm totally inadept at it. I can't. I tweeted once. I'm on the road, and someone tweeted, "I know, I'm right nearby." I went, oh God, it's like the next step is Stalker, the program.
Have you read Steve Martin's tweets?
No.
Oh, they're hilarious. He only started about a month ago. They're absolutely brilliant.
That's wonderful. Because all of a sudden, when you're in the hands of a pro like him, he's a great writer. You can imagine it'd be wonderful because he knows just enough to say and to make them interesting. A lot of us just like, wow.
Totally. We have to wrap it up. Just quickly, Happy Feet too. Tell us what's happening with Happy Feet.
Happy recording more. Just been working with George, which is great. George Miller and all these Chicano comedians. And we did a bunch of recording in Sydney about 2 months ago. And it was crazy because it was like, it's fun. He just lets us riff and then picks the best stuff and goes, and then try that again, Robin. That'd be great. And we'll see, because he's got all sorts of new music. He's got Pink, the recording artist, and you have to qualify that. And who else? It's got most of us are back, so it's pretty crazy. And the plot is just mainly about that the polar ice caps are melting, which is they were going to shoot plates in Antarctica for the movie, and they went down and shot some plates, and they went, okay, we'll go back in 6 months. They were gone. They had melted. It was going, no, the shit's real.
It's terrible.
The Earth has a comb over it. But he's doing nothing. He's just working over there. But it's been fun working on, because it's, for me, doing cartoon voices is a blast. It's you can do anything.
We are going to be showing on Showtime the Weapons of Self-Destruction on New Year's Eve at 10 o'clock. So it's the last thing people will see. Would you like
Happy New Year! Oh my God!
Would you like
Enjoy.
to give a shout out to the
shout out to the people watching that, and those of you drinking, remember where you are. Have a designated driver, and if you get a tattoo, take someone with you that speaks Chinese. Just a hint. Happy New Year. We'll have already celebrated in America. Day before. No, maybe now you'll be celebrating first. Fuck off. Too late. Thanks. Thanks, Boston.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
No, this is fun. Thanks.
That was great fun.
God bless. Thanks.
I have a little something for you.
Oh, a gift. Two gifts. These are kangaroo balls.
That's it.